What up, guys? This is a Different Animals podcast. It's your boy Tyler Cribbs.
And I'm Ever. Hi, guys.
All right, so today what we've got in store is we're gonna touch on the NFL draft. Definitely gonna touch on this Michael Jordan Last Dance documentary, straight fire, and we are also gonna talk about the quarantine, very tiny amount, and probably hit some Tiger King, despite Ever's disaversion to that fucking topic. But first, let me hit you with this straight fuego intro track. All right, that was my man Eddie Ruger and his guy Philly Fresh threw that together for us. Forgot to mention it in the intro episode, but they gave us the intro, and my boy Colin Cease threw together the image for our podcast. It looks really good.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
shout
Thank
out
you
to
very
all of
much,
them.
guys. Thank you very much.
Definitely. So, like I said, first thing we're gonna jump into real quick is this NFL draft. We're not gonna stick to sports too long, just because I know everyone's not into that. But despite there being no actual sports played, it's one of the very few things still going on. So, NFL draft number one pick Joe Burrow. How are we feeling about what we think Joe Burrow is gonna do in the league?
Yeah. See, I think he's gonna be great. I think at a certain point, I mean, just there's just gonna be so much talent around him. I mean, he's got AJ Green still. They drafted a couple of wide receivers or a wide receiver, I'm pretty sure. And I mean, I think he's gonna be at a minimum, of all maybe not all pro, but definitely Pro Bowl at least for a few years. I think.
Definitely. I mean, hell, I think Mitchell Trubisky made the Pro Bowl, so
Yeah.
obviously the
Exactly.
bar's pretty low.
Yeah.
Shout
No,
out
but
to
I mean,
UNC football.
yeah, yeah. I mean, hey, he was nobody's gonna be able to take away that second pick overall. So he'll always have that. He'll always have that plaque. But yeah, I mean, I'm not a I follow college football for Carolina, um, and I follow it sort of not super closely, but I know which teams are good. I know who does well, the Heisman race, usually that kind of stuff. And so watched him play a few games. I watched him play in the playoffs, and I watched him play against Alabama toward the end of the season, and he looked great in all of them. I mean, he looked like head and shoulders better than everybody. I mean,
Yeah,
the
that man was
closest
stunting.
guy, yeah, I mean, the closest guy I can think of was probably Trevor Lawrence, and I mean, he made Trevor Lawrence look pedestrian in the national championship. Although, of course, that was probably also the defense.
Yeah,
But
LSU's
yeah,
defense is a monster.
I think he's gonna be pretty good. I'm excited to see what he does with AJ Green the Bengals and John Ross. Although I know they didn't pick up his fifth year option, but I think the wide receivers and the running backs, Joe Mixon, Gio Bernard. I think he's gonna have a good team around him.
Definitely. I think I agree with 100% of that. He's definitely going to be a high quality starter in the league for a hot minute. I don't think we're going to have to worry about him being a straight up bust or anything like that. The only thing I will say is all these people need to calm the fuck down trying to tell me this man had the best season in college football because that man couldn't hold Cam Newton's jockstrap.
No, I mean Cam Newton. Since I saw him play until now, I still think he has the greatest college quarterback season of all time. I mean, the man won every single individual award he can think of, including the Heisman. I think he had. I should probably look this up right now. He had something ridiculous, like I think 30 touchdowns and 20 rushing, 30 passing. Let me see. I'm pulling it up right now. Should I had it? He had 30 passing and 21 rushing. So he accounted for 50 touchdowns in his lone year at Auburn. So I mean, and if you look at the people around him on that team, I believe only Nick Fairley was also drafted. So and even he wasn't that great of a player. So I mean, just in terms of talent around him, if Cam had the players around that Joe had, he would have put up easily maybe 70 touchdowns, I believe.
Absolutely. Joe had all stars all around him. He had so many people get drafted. Even in the first round, I think he had a few of his teammates also get drafted. Um, but yeah, Cam Newton throws fucking lasers and is built like Brandon Jacobs. He's like 6'4". Like, this man's like a thick LeBron James, just straight bowling people over. It's the
Exactly.
most ignorant thing I've ever seen at quarterback. And people saying that Joe Burrow, had a better season than him are out of control,
Yeah.
and I just
Yeah.
don't see it.
Me neither. Me neither. And I'm sure we'll talk more about Cam and sort of, what he was able to do in the league. Hopefully, in the episode when he gets signed in the future, I'd like to talk more about him. But, yeah, I think Joe's gonna be good. But the idea of him being a better quarterback, or at least having a better quarterback season than Cam, I think is ridiculous. Or at least, I mean, maybe not ridiculous because he did have a great season, but I mean, Cam was otherworldly in that season.
Yeah, no, fuck that. It is ridiculous. I'm not measuring any of my statements. Uh, so yeah, also shout out to the Cowboys picking CD Lamb. Now we got 3 dope wide receivers, Zeke and Dak. Fucking we're winning the Super Bowl. Don't care what anyone says. Um, so
That's right. We are also both Cowboys fans, but please don't hold it against us.
no,
We
fuck
were.
that. Hold it against us. I don't care. I don't care. Bro, only what 3 other teams got more Super Bowls than us? Hold my
Yeah.
dick. So fuck that. All right. So the next thing I want to talk about while we're staying on the topic of sports is this MJ Last Dance documentary, which is phenomenal. It's a 10-part documentary, so 10 hours of runtime, but when you take out commercials, probably going to come out to like 7. And I'm here for every last minute of it because
Yes.
we're getting 2 hours a night uh, every week, and I was worried that I was going to struggle to stay awake through it because it's running late and I'm washed. But I was up for every minute of it. Didn't realize it was 11 o'clock when it was over. So
Yeah.
definitely here for it. My favorite thing that I would like to touch on first is that Michael Jordan, being the known dickhead he is, within 15 minutes of this documentary is roasting the shit out of his general manager.
I mean, yeah. I mean, we've known that he was a jerk for pretty much since the '90s. I mean, it's common knowledge that he's kind of a dick, and even he said it before the documentary came out that once people see this documentary, they're gonna think I'm a jerk or something. Which I maybe I don't know. I think
Does
we
he
could
kill
definitely go.
someone in this documentary? How could you possibly look like a bigger jerk than everyone knows you are?
Exactly. I mean, there's that famous I don't know if you've seen it, the chameleonaire story about how he went up to him and he was a total jerk to him. If you haven't seen it, definitely look it up on YouTube. I think it'd be too long to clip in here. I think it's almost 7 minutes long. But he goes into detail about how he was an up and coming rapper and he went up to Michael Jordan and he totally blew him off. But literally anybody who's ever come into contact with Michael Jordan, um, has a story like that. And also, did I say Michael Jackson a
No,
little
you
bit ago?
said
No,
Michael
okay,
Jordan.
Jordan. Okay, because it happens from time to time.
It's
But
all good.
yes, but yeah, I also think the documentary is fantastic. At the time of this recording, there's only been 4 episodes, and all of them have flown by. The stories are all super interesting, and everybody's being honest. Although I do think that they might have given Jordan a bit too much of an editorial input.
Oh yeah, he definitely made sure who's gonna look bad and who's gonna look good in these stories. But fuck it,
Yeah,
it's Michael Jordan. What are you gonna do?
exactly, exactly. Yeah. But I'm very excited to watch the next two this week and then the last four over the next few couple weeks. Um, yeah. What do you think? What were you looking forward to in the next few weeks? Like, is there any sort of topic that you want them to touch on? I think they said this week it's gonna be about Kobe and his influence in the league. Not Kobe's, but Jordan's. But what are you looking forward to in the next few weeks?
So the first 4 episodes have been basically episode 1's about the team and Michael Jordan and what has led up to the final championship. And then episode 2 was about Scotty, and episodes 3 and 4 were about Dennis Rodman because that motherfucker deserves 2 episodes because he's a fucking madman. Um, real quick, just another story I want to touch on of Michael Jordan being a dickhead is my favorite video of Michael Jordan is Chris Paul being a Jordan athlete is running a camp, and he's like, Michael Jordan, if you miss a shot out of these 20 shots I'm going to have you take, can all these kids here get a free pair of Jordans? And Michael Jordan sinks every last one of those fucking shots and walks away. Fuck them kids. They don't need no shoes. Fuck them. This is my
I'm sure,
favorite fucking
and the
video
thing
of
is,
Michael Jordan.
I'm sure he gave all those kids shoes, but
I
the
don't know that
idea
he
of
did. I don't know that he
missing
did. I could totally see this man being like, yeah, fuck you. I ain't paying for shit. It's coming out of Chris Paul's wallet. I'm out. I can see it 100%.
That would, yeah, that definitely sounds like something he would do.
But
But
what I'm looking forward to seeing, though,
yeah,
what I am looking forward to seeing, though, is as we get further away from, they've hit everything. There's been a million documentaries, I feel like, of Michael Jordan. Everyone knows the mythology. But seeing some of the intricacies behind the actual season. Like, for example, I had no idea that they tried to blow this up before the last championship. Have you got to be
right,
out of your
yes.
fucking mind? So you win 2 and you win 3, Michael Jordan leaves, comes back, wins the next 2, and you're like, I don't even want to try it again. Fuck it, we'll just go with that.
That definitely, I think that's definitely been the number one thing that I sort of have learned from this. You know, I knew about the 80s and his time at Carolina and his struggles in his early years and the Bad Boy Pistons and all that. I knew about all that, even if I didn't know it in detail. What I had no idea was the turmoil about that last season. Maybe I'm, if there's anybody listening who's a little bit older who remembers that, but I had no idea. You kind of remember, or you're told he had, the 2 3-peats, and you sort of imagine, oh well, they won the first 3, then he leaves, he comes back, he wins the other 3, and then at the end he goes, you know what, I'm riding off into the sunset with 6. But nobody ever talks about, oh well, the general manager basically said that Phil's not coming back next year, and Jordan wasn't going to come back unless Phil was, and so I mean,
yeah, as
knows?
kids, what you hear is that, like, or what you think in your head, the story is that this man cakewalked through the first 3-peat and then decided to try his hand at baseball for whatever reason that occurred. We don't really get into that as children. But then he just cakewalked through the next 3, and that's what I thought it was. And he was like, cool, I got 6, I'm out. But it's totally not what was going on.
Exactly. Like it always felt to me like he was like, all right, 6, one more than Kareem, I'm done, I'm gone.
Right, exactly. So I'll be interested to see some more like that kind of behind the scenes stuff, and then seeing the intricacies of the season. Like, I want to see him punch Steve Kerr in the face. I want that footage.
Exactly. Yeah. Definitely. And great sound bites from other people. Like I think it was Ron Harper who had one of the great lines, and who was the other guy on his team about? Oh, when he called the Pistons players a bunch of bitches or something. So I those are the little nuggets like that are the things that have been in my opinion most interesting. Hearing these players talk honestly and not just like the usual, well, they were great players and it was about competition or things like that.
Right. He's not giving cliche reporter answers. I mean, this man is like, they wouldn't let me play because of minute restrictions. I think they were wanting me to tank. Fuck them coaches. He says that on ESPN. I was like, oh shit, we're allowed to do that? I looked around in my fucking bedroom looking for people, the FCC to come busting through the fucking doors.
Same.
But you said you saw a quote about people saying how many points Michael Jordan could score in today's NBA?
Yes. His former agent, or maybe current agent, but they're talking about how in today's NBA, with the rule changes and the offensive changes, how in today's game, his points per game would be like 50 or 60, which I think, of course, everybody knows is absolutely ridiculous. Unless you're a total Jordan stan, there's no way anybody could score, even Michael Jordan, that much per game in today's NBA.
Can I be honest with you?
Yeah.
Okay, so I definitely don't think it's that outlandish. So my main reason, my logic for this, right, is that Russell Westbrook averages, aside from his last season, I think he was a little lower than he normally was. Russell Westbrook can average like 30 points, right? And we're talking about a guy that can't shoot at all. and has a similar motor to Michael Jordan. I think we would both agree that Russell Westbrook takes 0 plays off,
Right, right.
and Michael Jordan 100% takes 0 plays off. So I think if we're talking about Michael Jordan growing up today, right, he will be still as freakishly athletic, which I understand, as time goes on, people get more athletic in all the sports. You know what I mean? Like linemen are
Yeah,
running like 640s or whatever the fuck that Tristan Wirfs ran at the fucking
yeah.
combine. But I watched that man come back at 40 for the Wizards and pin someone shot with both hands on the backboard. Like he was definitely more athletic than we give him credit for. And then
Right.
we're talking about that athleticism, that drive, and no one can hand check him. And if we're talking about him growing up today, he will shoot better than he did back then. You know what I mean?
Right, right.
I
I
think if we
mean,
take all things considered, like if we took Michael Jordan out of '96 and just dropped him in right now, he's not going to score that many. Defense has gotten too advanced. He's not a good enough shooter. But if we talk about Michael Jordan, who he was growing up today, I could totally see him averaging 50. I mean, fuck it. Are we going to say that he's not as prolific as James Harden?
right, right. But yeah, yeah. And I definitely feel like, more of Jordan's shots would probably come from three, which would improve it. I just don't know. I mean, even with his ungodly, I think it was 88 season where he averaged close to 80 or 38 or 37. I mean, that's still 12 points off. And I don't know. I just don't feel like he would, but
But that's
who
with like
knows? I mean,
zero
you don't really know.
efficiency from the 3 point line. You know what I mean? Like, could
Right.
you imagine? Because the thing is, and also one that's as much as I do think the physicality of the '90s is slightly overrated. I mean, like there were definitely people fucking elbowing that man through the lane, and that doesn't happen anymore. So
Right.
that
Right.
man's coming through like Giannis, just fucking dunking on everyone, and then also probably gonna have a 3 point shot if he grows up today. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because
Definitely. Yeah.
even for the time, his 3 point shot wasn't bad. You know what I mean? It's not like he
Yes.
was a terrible 3 point shooter. It's just that wasn't
He didn't take
valued
them.
during that time. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the year that he averaged the big 1988 year, he averaged 37.1 points per game, and he only hit 12 threes in the entire season. Like,
That's
Steph Curry
nuts.
hits that in a game. Like, that's the that used to be the record. I think the record now is 13 or 14, which I think Clay
It has
has
to
it
be
at
Clay,
14.
right? Like Clay just fucking shoots like nobody's else is in the gym with him.
That's what Jordan had in a season, and that was his best season. So maybe, I mean, I
I'm
don't
not
know if
saying
he
he could
hits
average
50,
50
but
every fucking season, but I think
right. Right,
if he
right.
played, you could definitely get a peak season where he was averaging 50. I think it's possible. I'm not saying it's likely, but I think
Yeah.
it's possible.
Maybe if you played on a shit team like the '06 Kobe,
Yeah, like the Hornets. You know what I mean? Like a real shitty team run by a guy who can't run a team. You know what I mean? Like one of
Yeah,
those.
who wonder who that could be? Yeah, a notorious gambler maybe, a guy whose eyes are the color of Doritos, maybe perhaps.
Oh man, that man's eyes are the shade of a stick of butter that's just been thrown in a frying pan, and I do not understand how it happened.
They're like a beautiful sunset in that it's the exact same shade.
Ugh, God, oh boy. All right, so I definitely think it's possible. Real quick, goat conversation, greatest of all time. Who you got, Michael Jordan or LeBron?
Oh, still LeBron. I mean, if you give LeBron in 20 years a documentary where he can, I guess, oversee most of it, and he gives his own part of, his own perspective and doesn't bring back, I don't know, the Celtics to talk about it, or maybe just brings back one of the Celtics to talk about it from the '08 team, then maybe. But yeah, it's still LeBron. I mean, by the time he's done, he's gonna be in the top three of scoring, rebounds, and assists. Just, you know, somebody who I think I've appreciated since, because he's been playing at a high level
Since he came in the
uh,
league,
since
his
he came in the
rookie
league. I mean,
year,
since
he
I was
was
in
the
seventh
beast.
grade. Yes, yes. And so I still have LeBron, but Jordan is too.
So I've got Jordan, I think now, and I was originally Jordan, and I definitely switched to LeBron kind of recently, but I think I'm back to Jordan, and I think if a 20 if a 10-part documentary comes out for LeBron, it's definitely possible to sway me. I'm not too hard on either one of these, but
Yeah.
there's a
I
couple
mean,
things.
can you imagine a full, like, behind the scenes camera crew? I mean, I don't know if it's true, but if it had followed him during the 16 finals, like,
Oh my
That
God,
could
yeah,
sway you back.
definitely. But I think what I've got going for me for Jordan is, you know, he was so dominant, and people say that about LeBron, but like on the other side of the coin is that I can't you can't find anybody that says like Jordan wasn't all that great. You know what I mean? Like nobody's like
Yes.
Jordan's out
Yeah.
here
Yeah. Absolutely.
overrated,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Yeah.
like you could definitely find somebody to tell you LeBron's overrated. I'm trying like
Absolutely.
you could
Yep.
definitely find someone. And then
Yeah.
another thing that pops in my head that came through this documentary is that Michael Jordan came into the team as a rookie on a trash ass Bulls team, and when he showed up, they said that every person there was like, "This dude's definitely the best player on the team." Within like a practice, they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's the dude."
I mean, Bob Knight, the year that he was drafted, Bob Knight had him on the Olympic team, and he told the Trailblazers to pick him at number 2. So
Yeah, and like I said, he came into the team. They immediately were like, "This is the best one." But
yeah,
on the other hand, LeBron went to the Cavaliers, and I don't remember that dude's name, but there was a dude that infamously was like, "I thought he was just coming on the team, help me score." Like,
yeah, yeah,
like, like nobody
but I
said that
think
about Michael.
I don't think that's the sort of the I think that's more the guy thinking more of himself than probably
Right, but all
the
these
sort
people
of
are
general
professionals.
consensus.
All these people are professionals. So if we're talking about the people on the team, Michael Jordan, I don't care how poorly you think yourself. You got to look at this rookie and be like, "This is just some fucking rookie. I've been in the league for years. Fuck this kid. I'm better than this kid." One practice, he was like, "No, I'm good. Fuck that dude's the one." So like, I think all this mythology kind of going into it is definitely kind of swaying me back to Michael Jordan. But like, if all this mythology still occurs with LeBron, you know what I mean? I could
Yeah,
just as easily flip back.
I,
And to LeBron's credit, I don't think LeBron trails Michael Jordan in a single stat. Like he rebounds more. He has a better shooting percentage. He scores more points. Maybe.
definitely more threes.
Yeah, more threes.
I think more triple doubles.
Yeah, more rebounds.
Not points per game. Points per game. I think Jordan still holds the record. I think overall, but LeBron, he is a scorer, but I just don't think he
Oh, LeBron.
is at the same
The
level.
amount.
Or he's wired a little bit differently. Not in a bad way, but just that's how he is.
Absolutely, the amount that Michael Jordan eclipses him in points is. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Can't be anywhere close to the amount of assists that LeBron eclipses Michael Jordan.
Right.
LeBron is a much better distributor than Michael Jordan was. And so, like, if we're talking, if we talk a game of one-on-one, as much as everyone wants to say Michael Jordan, I can't find a way for Michael Jordan to win a game of one-on-one. LeBron is 6'8", what is he, like 250, 260? He's a brick-built shithouse. And he's got a post game. I can't imagine any scenario where the LeBron gets the ball and goes into the post and doesn't just dominate Michael Jordan just for the sheer fact of being so much bigger and heavier.
Right. All right. Look, let me to wrap up this topic. Let me go down different categories, and I'll ask you to see who is better, or who has more, or is better at it, and see if you can get them right. Okay. Per game. So these are gonna be per game.
Okay.
Points.
I'm going to say Michael Jordan.
Yep. Rebounds.
That's got to be LeBron.
It is. Assists.
Bron.
Yep. Steals.
That one's going to be tough. I'm going to say Jordan.
Yep. Blocks.
Bron.
Up. Tied up. 0.8.
What?
Yep.
All right.
Mhm.
Tied. I don't care. LeBron's blocks are infinitely more spectacular because that man goes the full length of the court and slams your shit into the fucking 8th row. Continue.
Field goal percentage.
Bron.
Yep. 3 percentage.
Bron.
Free throw.
That's got to be Jordan because Bron is horrific at free throws for how
Yep.
good he is.
And now here's total. Points.
So I know Michael Jordan's better per game, but I feel like with all the years taken off and his kind of early retirement, it might be Bron now, right?
Yeah, it is by 2,000 points.
Okay.
Rebounds.
Bron.
Assists.
Bron.
Steals.
Maybe Bron.
No, Jordan.
Okay.
And then finally blocks. But this one was tied, but similar to the points, Bron has more games, so he has more blocks.
Right. And that's something that like it's kind of hard to measure against because people will talk, like LeBron's got all these numbers, but He didn't take 2 years off for baseball. He didn't go to college for how long was Mike in college? 3 years.
3 years. Yeah. So he was there until he was 21. Braun was, hit the ground running at 18.
Which is completely unrelated, but I think this is what we're gonna end this topic with. Is I don't understand how the fuck UNC fans have Michael Jordan on their fucking roster and he's not their best college player because fucking goofy ass Tyler Hansbrough is the most unfathomable fucking success story I've ever seen. I
Yep.
hate watching that
Four-star,
man play
four-time
basketball.
All-American. Naismith, NCAA championship. But
Fucking 7 foot goofball.
It's crazy.
That's
Yep.
all right. So speaking of fucking goofballs, all right, have you watched Tiger King?
I have not, and I probably won't. I feel like at this point, it's kind of in a week or so we'll have moved on to something else. But I just didn't get a chance to, and it never sort of sparked my interest in a way that it did for other people.
Right. Yeah. So the thing is, like, I'm just a general scumbag. I love watching psychos move through life. I definitely don't watch enough serial killer documentaries, but all of these people in this fucking documentary are 100% capable of being a serial killer. Maybe not through efficiency, but through sheer will. Like, I don't think any of these people could pull off more than one murder without getting caught, but they definitely would think about it.
So I sort of know the basics, and I know enough about it to be able to have a conversation about it, at least a little bit. Like, there's a guy named Joe, and then this lady killed her husband and stuff. But that's kind of my extent of it.
Which, by the way, I understand 100%. It wouldn't be hard for a documentary to make artistic, I'm putting that in quotes, artistic choices or artistic liberties to make it seem like she killed her husband. But for all intents and purposes, that bitch killed her husband. They asked, like, they brought up, apparently one of the rumors is she has a meat grinder, right? Because she has fucking tigers. So you have a meat grinder, and she's like, they're like, how do you respond to allegations that you killed him and put him through the meat grinder and fed him to tigers? And her response is, that meat grinder's way too small to fit a person through. Bitch, that's not the correct answer. That is the incorrect answer. The correct answer is, I don't know. I didn't fucking kill him. Why would I do that? Not like, here's the reason I couldn't. This bitch over here looking like O.J. Simpson, right? Like, if I would have done it, it wouldn't have worked in the fucking meat grinder. You're out of your mind.
Right. But so that's you've been watching that during this quarantine. Is there anything else that you've been watching or that you want to get caught up on?
I've definitely me and Kayla have been watching Mad Men, and so I watched Mad Men back when it originally came out for the first season, and then I guess just because I'm incapable of following a story, the moment season 2 came up and his wife is just on a fucking horse in the middle of nowhere, and I don't know what the fuck's going on anymore, I was like, I think I'm just gonna check out of this one. I think I'm good, and I stopped watching. But she picked it up, with everything going on, has been watching a lot of that. I've been picking up some of it with her. So I've definitely been checking that out.
No, yeah, that's a good quarantine series. I remember watching it live. Like I watched every season live, and it's definitely a show that I think you need time with. I don't think you can binge it. But I'm glad you're enjoying it. Yeah.
Definitely. That you know what other show? Oh boy, and this is fucking disgrace because I didn't finish this show either. But what other show had that same effect with me, and I just had to barrel through it, was The Wire. I think it's season 3. All of a sudden, you're just on fucking shipping docks with a bunch of fucking goofy ass white people, fucking Polacks out here, fucking just have a bunch of fucking problems. And I'm like, what happened to every character that we've followed for 2 seasons? And it starts so off for like the first couple episodes, but I bulldozed through it. Still haven't finished that series.
No, good.
Though.
That's my favorite, still my favorite TV series of all time. And I remember I watched it, I think 5 or 6 years ago. And you're right, season 2 starts and you're like, wait, who are these people? Who are these characters? And I knew that they were different characters for every season. I didn't know that it was going to be that hard of a sort of turn to it. But if you're listening to this and you haven't seen The Wire yet, please give it a chance. Please watch it, especially in these times when I'm hoping, you have more time to focus on shows you've been trying to catch up on.
Yeah, shout out to your boy being essential though. No free time. I still work every day. Fucking drive. I hate it, but I still get a paycheck. Same. I can't be too mad.
Same.
But so yeah, definitely The Wire. Is there any movies or anything like you would suggest during this period?
Um, I've been watching, just I do have a list of like all-time great movies that I'm either trying to watch or I'm trying to get my girlfriend to watch. But sometimes I just kind of go, you know what? Put on The Mummy. We watched The Mummy last week with Brendan Fraser. So sometimes, you want to get a mix of quote unquote great movies, and then sometimes you want to just um, have
Just want to check out
the
for like a
just
solid
want to
hour
check
and a
out.
half.
Yes, yeah, and not think about it, not think about bad stuff.
Right, you
But
got to sit there and somehow fucking imagine Brendan Fraser to be a fucking action star. Okay.
right, and dude, and like, but like rewatching it, like he is very charismatic, and it's kind of surprising. Like he has a great energy about him, and which I think comes naturally. I don't think you can train that. I think he's just very naturally good in that role in a way that I think I didn't remember from the first time watching it. Of course, I hadn't seen it in almost 15 years, but if you haven't seen it in a while, rewatch it and watch it for him and see how natural he is in a way that I think most people don't remember.
Yeah, I haven't watched it in forever, and I can't. I just can't imagine it. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like Kaylin's number one memory of Brendan Fraser is God, was it George of the Jungle? Maybe
George of the
he like
Jungle. Yeah, George.
suplexes a fucking lion. I was like, get the fuck
Yes,
out of
yes.
here.
It's like the Tarzan parody, the Austin Powers version of Tarzan. But the best compliment I can give Brendan Fraser in that movie is that he is pretty much Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones in Men in Black combined. Of course, I mean, no, not like the sum, but like if you could merge those
Those
characters into one,
personalities.
that's who he plays. Yes.
Gotcha. You know, if we're talking about people that like shouldn't have been action heroes but apparently nailed it, right? This is I'm gonna go kind of another direction, which is someone that at the time I think nailed it, but right now I can't imagine them nailing it. It's fucking Tobey Maguire as Spider Man because that's the goofy looking motherfucker right there. I cannot imagine him being Rico Suave hanging upside down, kissing Kirsten Dunst like in the ring.
Right.
Can't imagine it. Dude looks
Right.
like a goofball. All I can think of is
I
the
think
Spider-Man 3 fucking meme of him doing that awful ass dance down the street in the fucking ridiculous black clothes.
right. I think the three people who I think most have that energy now, um, are definitely Tobey Maguire, Brendan Fraser, and I think Keanu Reeves. I think I mean, now he's got John Wick, and he had The Matrix before. But if you watch something like Bill and Ted, you're like, this guy's gonna become, you know, the next big action hero. But
Yeah, that's true.
it's that same kind of. I think he has that same kind of energy that Brendan Fraser has, where, it's hard to teach. You can't Chris Hemsworth this guy, just because he's good looking and 6'5" and you know has a charming accent. You can't shape that. It just has to come naturally. And I think that's the hardest part of being a good action hero is that sort of it factor.
right, definitely because Bill and Ted was before our time. But
Right.
I can't imagine my first exposure to Keanu Reeves was The Matrix, in which he fucking nailed it. So
Right. Yep.
so I can't imagine if you were a guy that watched Bill and Ted, and then they were like, check out this dude who's gonna be doing fucking backflips off walls, murdering people like a fucking champ. I can't
Mm-hmm.
imagine you being like, yeah, no, I see it. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way. You're like, this is a fucking
Right.
goofball.
Right. I mean, yeah. There's guys who you just know are gonna be the next big thing or the next action hero. I think. While being charismatic, I think you think about Will Smith or Chris Pratt
Tom
or
Cruise.
something like Tom Cruise, Brad Pitt, like those guys who you just go, yeah, that fits. But then there's guys who you just see and you're like, wow, like I guess I didn't see that coming. I didn't know they had it in
Yeah,
them.
absolutely.
But yeah,
Yeah, it's so weird to fucking wrap my head around those people like Tobey Maguire. Dude, every time I think about it, I get like a little confused. I have to fucking check my watch, see what time it is, make sure I'm still in my house. I don't fucking end up at a gas station naked like fucking Walter and Breaking Bad. Uh,
now you mentioned this isn't in our show notes, but it is something that I do find interesting. Is you mentioned the first movie you watched him in was The Matrix, and that is one of the first movies that I remember watching. Like just like remember having a memory of. It's not the first one. The first one for me ever was Terminator 2. and I remember it. I remember watch like this, like not all of it, but just clips of it in my mind, being like 4 or 5 and watching clips of it when it was on TV. But what is, or do you remember the first movie you
All
ever
right, so the
watched?
first movie I ever watched, right? If I have to memorize, are we talking like in a theater current type of movie?
Oh, no, 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 just like the first memory of watching a movie.
All right, so the first memory watching a movie, you know what? Now that I think about it, is probably still the movie theater one. I
Hmm.
this is the dumbest shit ever. I distinctly remember the fucking credits to Toy Story. I remember the credits,
The bloopers, or the bloopers, or they mean like the actual
the actual
credits?
credits, because I think it had. I could be way off here, but this is how it is in my fucking mind's eye. Right? Is that the credits are on a black screen rolling up, and there's just like random colored outlines of like boots and shit along like the outside, like just like ticker taping down the sides. I could be wrong, but like I that's what I imagined in my head, and that's my memory. I could have completely manufactured that out of thin air, but for some reason the credits are my earliest memory. Not shit about the movie, just the credits. Don't know why.
Just the
Yes,
actual
bro, the
credits.
actual black screen white text, fucking, fucking a million names that I'm never gonna know. Credits.
It, it is, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm watching them right now. It's just like, Pixar hard hitters. Lee Unkrich, Pete Docter. I mean, guys that would go on to make their own movies, but
At the age
next
of
to them
also
are
at the
like
age of
little
fucking
cacti.
3, I'm not like keeping that dude in mind, fucking writing notes.
Yeah, 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 yeah. And then the credits. Tom Hanks, Tim Allen, and stuff. That's very funny. That is very
Yeah,
funny.
I don't know why. I do remember. I do have a distinct memory of The Matrix though because my dad got a DVD player at the time, and I think The Matrix dropped on DVD like right when DVD players came out, and that was like the
Right.
first DVD my dad bought because he's like, "This DVD fucking next level quality, bro. I'm not watching this shit on VHS. All these special effects look fucking dope on my standard DVD player," and we watched that a
Right.
thousand times.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, yeah. I also remember watching it for the very first time. Um, it's so funny because it ends up being a movie that's still talked about this day. But to be able to say that's a movie I remember watching the very first time. I remember we got it from Blockbuster. It was a VHS. And I remember exactly where it was. It was my dad. He was on one side of the room. I was in the other one. And I remember watching like specific scenes, like where Agent Smith gets blown up, or where Trinity does the first bullet time camera
The little like jumping
effect.
crane
And,
kick
and
shit in the office
yep,
where she's tied
I
up.
remember watching that and being like, whoa, like. And at that point, I was probably 6 or 7, and I remember being like, whoa, like that sounded like anything I'd ever seen. Dude, like the very first, like one of the very first times I remember thinking about this when Neo is in the subway and he gets up and he flexes and you see the dust sort of pop off of him. I remember thinking that is the coolest shit I have ever seen in my life. And to this day I think about that every time I see that scene.
That's yeah, that is great. What if you had to break like if you had to get rid of that movie and still but still have two scenes? What are the two scenes you're pulling out as like I want to always be able to see that scene of that movie?
The dojo scene
Yeah,
with him and
absolutely. I know kung fu.
yeah. Yep. That one and the subway fight.
The subway fight. I'm trying to remember which one's the subway fight.
It's the one where Morpheus and Trinity escape at the end and then Agent Smith shows
Is that
up
when he first
and they
stops the bullets and like taps the one down?
no, no, that's at the end. Yeah. But so he, and then he has him. Agent Smith has Neo in a chokehold, and he's like, this is the sound of inevitability, and then he's like, no, and then pushes him up to the ceiling, and then he
Oh
flips
yeah,
out of the way of the subway right before it hits
yeah.
him.
Okay, I do remember that. Yeah, that is dope. My second scene has to be I'm gonna call it the bank scene. I always imagine it to be a bank. I don't know if it actually is. Where they walk through the metal detectors, and he fucking
Yeah,
opens the
which
trench coat
which
with a
dude,
million fucking guns. I was like, that's where I'm at. That's what I want in my life. I want to be able to open a trench coat because I'm fucking what 8 years old at the time. Like that's badass. leather trench coat, million guns. I watched my man do a fucking cartwheel without touching the ground, holding the fucking gun perfectly straight, murdering people. That's all I ever wanted in my life.
Right. And and I read an article with the guys who helped coordinate those scenes in the shootout in the lobby. And those guys actually are big directors now. I mean, one of them does the John Wick series and the other one does the Hobbs and Shaw movie, or did the Hobbs and Shaw movie. And they were talking about how every time that they did those shots with the flip, it would take pretty much a whole day to reset. So if they messed up even once, they'd have to stop production, reset all of the bullet squibs in the walls, and then reshoot everything
Oh
all
my
over again.
god, that sounds fucking terrible, bro. Like
Yeah.
you imagine Keanu Reeves, you fuck it up and just like land on your ankle, twist it, and just fucking fall over. Like, god damn it, there goes the whole fucking day of shooting.
Right. I mean, dude. Yeah. Yeah. It's absolutely insane. One thing that I didn't notice as a kid is, they kill those people, not the SWAT guys, but the guys in the lobby, the security
Yeah.
guard guys. And as a kid, you go, oh, those are bad guys. But then rewatching it, you go, those are just regular
They're just
people.
like, hey, that
And they
metal
sort of
detector went off,
justify,
and they're just like, get murdered.
right. And they sort of justify it by saying, everybody who's in the system isn't our enemy. But, I watched it twice last year, once in theaters and then once with my girlfriend at home. And I was like, yeah, that's actually kind of super fucked up. And it's like they don't just like knock him out. Like I think if that was made today, they probably just punch them and knock them
Right.
out. But
You get a solid gun
yeah,
butt to the face, and that's the maximum.
right. But then back, late '90s, they just shoot the
Murdered
shit out
on
of them.
site.
Right, right.
Oh boy.
And I was gonna say something else about it. Um, you were talking about the punches. But now go ahead. I'll see if I remember what I was gonna say.
Well, basically, I was just gonna touch on, a bunch of movies got postponed because of all the nonsense fucking going on, which is 100% the right move, to postpone those movies. But
Yeah, absolutely.
which
Yeah.
one are you looking? You're the movie guy. You know what I mean? Like you're the movie buff. I ask you half the time before I'm about to watch something. What is the movie that got postponed? That is the most disappointing. It got postponed, and that we should be on the lookout for.
Yes, yes. Definitely the Fast and Furious movie. I am a big Fast and Furious movie fan. I think I remember watching the first one. Same with my dad. It was on HBO, and then I've been following it ever since the series ever since. So I'm bummed about that because I feel like right now would be the perfect time for a Fast and Furious movie. Something that is big. You can sort of
Yeah, you can absolutely check
you
out
know
just like you did with the Mummy.
check
We're
out
not
and
here
you
for
can ride. Yeah,
Vin Diesel's dialogue. I promise.
right, right, right. And now, well, I personally, I don't say, check your brain at the door because I think there are great action movies that, that you don't have to do that for. And I think if you have to check out your brain for an action movie, I don't think it's very good. But I do think that it is that kind of escapism entertainment that I think would be perfect right
Yeah,
now.
absolutely. I mean, it's a heist movie, and it's not like ever Ocean's 13. You know what I mean? There's never any real
Right,
fucking trickery going on. It's just like,
right,
nah, bro,
right,
we
right,
took
right.
a safe and just fucking hooked some cars to it, bro, and we're driving down the highway. That's how we're getting away.
Yeah, now that isn't. Yeah, I mean that's. I mean, Fast Five is still my favorite. That's an all-time sequence for me. But yeah, that's the one I'm most sad about. Of course, bummed about them pushing James Bond, pushing Black Widow. Pretty much everything in the schedule, in terms of nationwide movies, has been pushed up until mid-July. I think the next big one, or the first big one, the only big one left this summer is Tenet, the next Christopher Nolan movie. And then I still think Wonder Woman is still on schedule for August, but I mean the way things are going, I wouldn't be surprised if they pushed it at this point to next year because everything in November and December is already full.
I haven't watched a DC superhero movie in so long, and I just
Oh, dude, you've been recently. They've been on a little bit of a hot streak. They've been pretty good. I mean, most recently they did Birds of Prey, which I thought was excellent. They did Shazam last year, which was
I heard
also
Shazam was
excellent.
really good,
Um,
and I wanted to check that out,
yeah,
but I didn't.
definitely. Aquaman was solid. Wonder Woman is excellent. Even the Teen Titans Go to the Movie, the animated one, fantastic. The Lego Batman also fantastic. I don't know, they're not all under the
Right.
same continuity, but Joker still, that counts. And people love that movie. I thought it was pretty good, but compared to what came before, the Batman versus Superman's, the Man of Steel, Suicide Squad, my God,
Suicide Squad is the
so
last one I watched, and it was fucking awful.
it was awful. But I think everything since then has been pretty solid. I believe the first movie they made after Suicide Squad was Wonder Woman. So everything from Wonder Woman onward has been at least good.
I
At least
legitimately
watchable.
enjoyed Man of Steel, and I don't.
I
Maybe it
do
was a bad
too.
movie, but like I know a lot of people were upset with him snapping General Zod's neck. Right, that was Man of Steel, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Who we're talking about a superhero who has no downfalls, no weaknesses. His only possible weakness is this rare meteor material or whatever. I think maybe it's a piece of his planet, like kryptonite,
Yeah.
which somehow is simultaneously extremely rare, and also everyone has it at any given point in time. Um, but we're talking about a guy with no weaknesses, and so his only weaknesses can be character conflicts, really.
Yeah.
And if we're talking about a character conflict, I can't come up with one much better. Then there's another guy who's probably stronger than you at any given moment, and
Right.
is willing to murder everyone around to make sure you're dead. And at some point, you just got to be like, you know what? I just got to kind of fucking end this right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I thought
Yeah.
that was a perfect like moral conflict weakness plot point against Superman, where you have to see something happen.
True, true, true. But I don't know. I didn't have a problem with it. I liked Man of Steel. I hated Batman versus Superman.
I didn't
Um,
watch that. I
don't
couldn't
it?
trust
Oh
myself.
my gosh, no. It is terrible. The world is worse because that movie exists. But I will say, I do. I think I I didn't have a problem with him killing Zod that way at the end of Man of Steel. Spoilers, I guess, for the 7-year movie. That was one of the biggest movies of all time, if you're listening to it. But um, yeah, definitely. I don't know. I will definitely watch the most recent DC movies, and hopefully they'll give Superman another chance. Because I think if they do it right, if they do it how Marvel did Captain America, I think they'll be okay.
Definitely.
Now, of
I will
course, I
say.
say that like it's easy. Like it's like, oh, just find a guy who's perfectly
Mhm.
fit for the role and give him 12 movies to fully flesh out an all-time movie character. Yeah.
No, dude, just bring Henry Cavill back and I'll watch him reload his fucking biceps like he does in the Mission Impossible movie. And I'll watch that on
bring him
fucking
back.
reload. I will watch that shit on replay every time, over and over. I need to hear the shotgun pumps when he fucking throws his hands down. I need it.
Bring him back, but maybe let him fucking smile once in a while, you know?
Yeah, and
God, that was so
maybe
dour.
don't CGI his mustache away. I mean, I don't know what the answer is because I can't
Oh, wait.
imagine. I
You're,
can't.
you're right. You know what? I do want to make a little note. Do not watch fucking Justice League. That movie is also terrible. So that's like the one bad DC movie ever since Wonder Woman. But ever since everything else since then has been pretty good.
Real quick, one thing I will say you brought up before we drone on about this too long is that you mentioned the Teen Titans Go movie, and I completely
Yes.
forgot about that because my son it just turned 1 like April, or mid-April, and I watched it, because he watches it all the time. First of all, that show's fucking amazing. Teen Titans Go
So
is
good.
straight. I've never seen a kids movie that drops actual fucking bars in in their music. It's usually some ticky
The
tack
music
bullshit,
is
bro.
really good.
Bro, I will bump Pyramid Money every fucking day of the week. I will put
Catching
that shit in my
Villains.
car.
Did you
Bro,
listen
oh my
to
God.
Catching Villains?
Damn.
That's like
Yes,
as good
dude.
as fucking Drake's stuff.
That shit is so good, and it's
Seriously,
there's
if you're listening
no
to
good
this right
reason
now,
for it to be in
don't
a kid show.
don't don't pause and go finish this episode and then listen to Catching Villains from Teen Titan Go and be amazed that that isn't just like a regular kids show.
Yeah, that could straight up be a summer hit. And then if you want to fucking listen to like just some ignorant rap shit, listen to Pyramid Money because that's just fucking jams, bro. I send those to my friends who are grown ass adults on the regular.
Oh, dude, same. But I don't even know where we started on this.
We were just quarantine movies, but
Quarantine movies, yeah.
I think we're starting to run a little on time. I don't have the timer in front of me because I've built this ridiculous fucking setup
Yeah.
to try and not see things. So
We got like 10 minutes if you want to go over one more topic. If you have something you want to just go over. I mean, I have something that I want to get off my chest that is very particular, very exact, but I don't want to tweet it out because it would take forever.
Nah, talk your shit. Let's go.
Okay, so I am going to talk about the movie 1917. So if you haven't seen the movie 1917, maybe skip, I guess, like 2 minutes, maybe three. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe hit that 30-second clicker like 4 or 5 times for me. So, have you seen it, Tyler?
I haven't.
Do you mind if I spoil it?
I don't give a fuck. Go ahead.
Okay. So at the end of the movie, so the whole movie's in one long take, or it's made to look like it's one
Right.
long take.
Obviously,
Right?
it's
There's
not in
no
one, but they've done a very good job of setting it up in such a way that it looks like one.
right, right, and the movie won Oscars doing that.
Right.
So at the end of the whole thing happens. Everything happens very matter of factly because that's the way it would be in real life,
Right.
which I think works great for everything up until the very, very last moment. So at the end of the moment, what these two soldiers are trying to do is stop an attack from happening. And so they have a note that they have to give to a general, played by Benedict Cumberbatch. And so
Odd
at the
choice.
end of the
Continue.
yeah, I mean, the whole movie is sprinkled with cameos that border on distracting. But anyway, at the end of the movie, the guy, the climax, he's running on the field, which I'm sure you've seen in trailers. He's running on the
Probably.
field and he gets
Bunch
to
of
the
explosions
general.
behind him. Is it that one?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. Which showing climaxes of movies and trailers, it should be a capital sin in movies. But anyway, so at the end, he gets to the general. He gives him the note. He says, "Guys, call off the attack." And then it's the climax, and this is when you're supposed to be at the edge of your seat. He gives him the note, and then Benedict Cumberbatch looks down, reads it, and he goes, "Okay."
Jesus Christ. Hold on. I haven't seen this movie. I was like, if this motherfucker says like, all right, call it off, I'm going to, that's the
No,
dumb.
yeah, he literally, and that's it, and that's the end of the movie.
There's no argument.
And
He's just like, cool, this note, got it. Like, cool deal.
I mean,
call that shit out.
I do think, the movie, and then after that, they call it off, but then he goes, well, next week, the Benedict Cumberbatch tells the soldier, well, next week they'll just give me a different order, which does give the rest of the movie a twinge of tragedy, because it's like, well,
this man went through all this, and then the answer is
for
like,
nothing.
Back at it next week, guys.
Yep. Which I do think that works very well, but I do think that in a quote normal movie, that scene, he runs into the room. The music is hitting the peak. I'm thinking about that, like Hans Zimmer, Christopher Nolan peak music. He
Right.
gives him the note. The movie cuts to him reading, or the movie cuts to a close up of his face reading it, a close up of our hero sort of reacting to him reading it, a close up of the lieutenants around him, a close up of the note, then a close up of maybe of the fist of our hero sort of clenching, hoping that he says no, and then the music reaches its peak, and then you just get a bunch of cuts back and forth, and you get what I've always heard is De Palma effect, which is 1 second stretched out over much longer than what it would be. But that's that's where the magic of movie comes in.
Right.
And then he says, "Okay, call it off." And you extend this 1 second in 1917 to 30 excruciating climax seconds, where the movie hits its absolute peak. And I think 1917 suffers for not having that. And the ending, while tragic and while, earned, feels ever so slightly anticlimactic because of that.
I mean, you telling me this here now, having not seen that movie, I immediately, knowing that you were going to talk about a problem, was like, this motherfucker's going to say okay, and I would be so mad at that movie.
I mean, dude, definitely check it out. I mean, it is amazing. And I hate, we don't have movie theaters anymore, and I hate that you can't just go into a movie theater and say, I would like to watch this movie, because I think that is one of the movies that definitely benefits from being in theaters. But definitely watch it, definitely check it out. I mean, it's not something where I would hold it against it because of, and like take away a star or like half a star or whatever the fuck. But that one thing I think does hurt it. I think in a normal movie, cuts are important, and it sort of shows why edits and why cuts matter in movies.
Right. Yeah, that's such an odd choice. I mean, like you said, I get the after effect. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like there should have been some conflict there, right, between like whether or
Right.
like some conflict between whether he was going to call it off or not, and then you could still call it off. You still get a climactic battle. You know what I mean? It's not like a fight, but it is a conflict. You still get
Yeah,
the dramatic
it's the
conflict.
climax, right? It's the peak of the movie,
And then you can
I do
still
think,
get that awful tinge at the end where he's like, I'm just going to be told to start this again next week. And it still
right,
would hit. You know what I mean?
right, and I do think, I mean, I feel like the reason it's in one shot is to amplify, to show here's what we can do. It's no different than a basketball player dunking after he or flexing after he dunks. It's like that to
Right.
me. Um, and I do think it does help thematically because it does feel like this race against time. But if I did have to ping it, or if there is one thing I think hurts the movie of it being in one shot, it is that the final confrontation feels ever so slightly anticlimactic because there are no cuts.
That, yeah. So I'm gonna actually just get something off my chest that I just thought about, and kind of end this. What I'm gonna call a comedy note is please, I got an alert on my fucking phone to not ingest disinfectant, and and that is the most wild shit I've ever gotten. Uh, we also got a fucking tornado warning recently, and that was less confusing than Lysol having to come out and make a statement like, please, maybe don't drink our shit. Can you
Dude,
imagine being the guy at Lysol that's like,
had
this
to
is
write that copy.
nah, dude. The dude at Lysol that's like, this would really help sales if everyone came and just started buying our shit in bulk to drink it, but we can't really have our name associated with thousands of people dying.
Right,
So
right. I mean, it sounds like a fucking haywire sketch from Nathan For You, if you've ever seen that show.
I
It's
have.
like the plan is that we're going to get a president who tells everybody to buy Lysol and then to drink it, and then the guy goes, that could work. That because they always say that in the show. They're always like, yeah, that could work. But yes, it's dude. But at this point, dude, in 2020, nothing surprises me. I
Right.
mean, we have, people who are protesting. Somebody trying to protect them. We have Kim Jong Un dying and then undying, and then now nobody knows if he's dead or not.
Yeah,
Like,
we've got people rolling up to fucking state government houses strapped. Like let
murder
me
hornets. Yeah.
Like, and then I'm very politically opposite of our current president, but I feel safe to say that anybody defending this man right now is a full-blown psychopath, because as much as people are like, well, obviously he didn't mean disinfectant, why do you get that feeling? This man said it kills 99.9% of germs on the outside. Why don't we just try and figure out a way to inject it onto our lungs? Do you think we could do that? Turns to the fucking doctor. This man read the fucking label of Lysol and was like, "Can we do something with this?" Like, fuck you, bro. That man absolutely meant that. I don't care what anyone says. You can't convince me otherwise. He's a clown. And someone out there is drinking fucking Lysol, and more power to him.
And on that note,
Yeah, on that note, this was a Different Animals podcast. I hope it was entertaining. You can catch us on Instagram and Twitter at Diff Animals Pod. We have an email, differentanimalspodcast@gmail.com. You have any suggestions, definitely hit us up with those. Give us a review. I would like to emphasize that generally the way the world works, despite logic, is that a 5-star review means it's good, and a 4-star review means it's a fucking problem. Anybody that's had any sort of customer service experience where like a person
yes.
rates you 9 out of 10, they're like, so what the fuck went wrong? And the answer is nothing. It was a fucking 9 out of 10.
Right. Yes.
So
Yes. These aren't movie reviews where a B is okay. We need 5 stars. This is like, imagine you're in an Uber. We need those 5 stars. Because I have been in some shitty Ubers and I get out and I'm like, fuck, I almost died. 5 stars.
5-star, love the thrill.
Exactly. So yeah, please rate us. Especially us that we're getting started. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, anything, your thoughts about 1917, shoot us an email. My personal, so yeah, like Tyler said, Diff Animals Pod. That's our at both Twitter and Instagram. My personal Instagram is at evercastro92. Tyler, you just have a Twitter, right? You don't have an Instagram?
So I made an Instagram, and there's not a single fucking thing on it because I hate taking pictures. But Twitter and Instagram, you can catch me at tmoneybags. Money spelled MUNNY. We'll throw all of this in the notes underneath the show. And Anything else?
No, that's it. Just stay safe, stay healthy, and hopefully we'll be able to give you another one of these episodes soon.
Definitely. So I'm gonna play this outro music. We're gonna get going. Hopefully we'll catch you in 2 weeks. By some miracle, this goes smooth. Maybe in a week we'll figure it out. I hope everyone has a good time. Like you said, stay safe. Yo, also one thing ever.
Yeah.
Mitt Romney don't pay no taxes.